third topic of the day comes from patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Our boy, Throw7. Big fan of Throw7.
I love Throw7. Big supporter of us on Twitch. I didn't know he was doing the Patreon too. Thank you, Throw7.
Yeah. And
Go there, everybody.
Topics.
Support that.
I want to give a shout out to his topics. They are very well thought out. He has multiple ones that I look at them and I'm like, huh, that's actually a good conversation for about 15 minutes. Like
Throw7's so smart.
That's a good topic. I'm proud of you, Throw7.
We're proud of you, boy.
Topic that he has today.
Your boy, Greg.
VR is on the horizon, but where do you think gaming will be past that? In 10 years? In 100 years? As a child, I read The Veldt by Ray Bradbury. Is it The Veldt?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
VELDT?
You read books.
I don't read.
God, where's Colin?
I just know Fahrenheit 451 by Bradbury. I don't really know anything.
And it fascinated me with its vision of game-like experiences that could one day be a reality. So, what's the future of gaming? And I'm also, I know he says past VR, but I also think that we need to talk about VR a lot in this.
Well, I think
it makes sense.
I mean, I think to me the idea of augmented reality has to play into it, right? I don't know if it's necessarily going to be VR, but I love the idea of sitting in a fully immersive experience in your own house. That similar to what they showed at the Microsoft conference, but
you're talking about
HoloLens, or just something that extends the experience beyond just the 2D experience of the television, right?
Sure.
And that gets me more excited in gaming than it does in film. In film, I'm a diehard 2D fan. Like, it needs to be a flat 2D plane. I don't want to fucking put glasses on. I don't need any more experience. If you can't tell a story to me in 2D, it's not worth telling. But for gaming, sky's the limit, right? Because it is a much more creative and much more involved media where people are a lot more forgiving of the technology, because the technology increases so rapidly every year, right? And that sort of is what pushes the industry forward, whereas film is still trying to find its legs with that. But what gets me excited is the ability to just to have that extension of the experience, to have things in front of me, to have the world kind of mimic, to see those Iron Man-like effects in front of my eyes with just, wearing something like a Google Glass or something that's very non-invasive. Yeah. I don't know.
Hey. How you doing?
Good.
What question you want me to answer? There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot. I mean,
I think VR.
What do you take from that?
I think Nick's a VR hater. He was on Colin Moriarty live yesterday. I tried to upsell him a bit on it. How did it work? Did it work, Nick?
No.
Really?
No, I mean, I'll try it. Of course I'll try it. But
you've tried it.
But we're talking about
in a real game setting. I mean, I'll play a game with VR. I'll try. I'll put it in my living room. I'll adjust it myself. I'll deal with my wife making fun of me.
But that's why I was saying you put the headphones on and nobody else is there.
So it could be cool, but I still don't see people putting glasses on to do anything if they don't have to wear them, right? And that was the same thing with why 3D has been a little difficult to pick up in the living room, is because I just don't think people want to deal with charging glasses. They don't want to deal with buying the extra peripherals. They don't want to deal with having to put those on in a medium. With TV, that is passive. Now with gaming, it's not passive, so there's a different story there.
My thing for it is, and this is going to sound stupid, but stick with me, is that 3D is such a gimmick, whereas I don't think VR is. 3D for me, but stick with me, because I want to try to make my point here, and you can tell me if I succeed or not. 3D, especially in games, like when they put out in Uncharted supports and you did, and it's just like a little bit like, all right, cool, whatever, you know what I mean? Or any other game you popped in and did it with, it was like, fine, but it wasn't built for this. This isn't like what it's about. Even if it does, it's only adding that extra little bit of layer, but it's making the rest of my house look fucking weird or stupid or whatever. Whereas VR, like I'm talking to you, like I'd like to think that I am a guy who hates gimmicks and is I talk about PlayStation Move, hating it from the get-go, thinking it was stupid, watching it fail. I hate the touch on my Vita, with the exception of Taco Master now, but mainly the back touch, where people thought that was a good idea rather than put extra buttons on it. You know what I mean? And the list goes like fucking sniper scopes and all this other shit you'd have, back in the day, right? Putting on the VR, when they announced VR, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be PlayStation Move again. You know what I mean? And then putting it on and playing it like real games, like Rez, rigs around here, it's like, fuck, this is a different thing. This isn't 3D, which was like, let's try to shoehorn it in and do this. Like, I'm talking about putting these things on and you are looking all around and you're in this different game and it's this different experience and it's changing the way you play. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing. Games that are going to be built from the ground up with it, I think, are what's going to sell people on it and what'll sell you on it when you actually get to play it. Like, when you play Rez, you're going to have a completely different experience.
Okay. But like, I'm open to it.
And then my other point to you, like earlier, right, of like changing the experience. And the point that we talked about on PS I Love You XOXO episode 14, and I haven't talked to you about it, I don't think, is the fact of like, I keep going back to, I put it on for Rez, I put on the headphones, and I'm laughing and I'm giggling and I'm making comments to myself that I can barely hear. You know, it's like muted because I have these headphones on, and I forget that Steimer's in the room, Mizuguchi's in the room, all these other people are in the room, and then you're talking, you're laughing, you're having a good time, you're looking around, you're totally blanking out the fact that anybody else is there. And so for me, what's going, if this works and actually happens, and who knows, you know what I mean? For me, the next a big step of making VR a thing and making PlayStation VR a thing is having the headset on for all games or most games, and not having it mean that means it's a 3D game. But what I keep going back to is, you know, The Last of Us, right? Last of Us, I play Last of Us, and it's this incredibly emotional, touching, cool experience. I'm twists and turns, all these different things, right? But at any time my phone vibrates on the table, I pause and I look at it and look at Twitter and I shut it down, or so the car honks or the lights are coming in, so I get up and I do this. And I'm always available to be taken out of that experience, right? Imagine Last of Us with that on, this on, and that's it. Like, and I'm not saying I'm now controlling the camera, none of that shit. I'm just saying the screen is right here and there's nothing else, and there's nothing else in my ears, and it's just, I'm in this world for as long as I want to be. And Colin keeps talking about the fact that at, you know, E3 this year, in the middle of it, I leaned over and I'm like, look around. Like, the wraparound screen looks like a pair of glasses. Like, they're going to come out and say that everything is PSVR compatible or whatever, and they didn't. But Colin sticks with me on the fact that, because even though I always go back to the Horizon demo. The Horizon demo ended at E3 and had been played this whole time, and it went woof, and it filled in. And I think what they're going to do when they say it's, you know, PlayStation VR compatible for a lot of the games going forward, like Horizon, like probably maybe kind of Uncharted 4 if they patch it or whatever, is the fact that you can put it on, play the game. Again, it doesn't control anything, but it fills up and down a little bit more. Yeah. So it literally is that you're just looking into this thing, and then it's blocking out everything. And it's like, when that happens, that's when all of a sudden I understand what Nick sees in the movies, and why, like, I'm always like, I'll watch that on a fucking plane or whatever, da da da. Like, when you go to the movies, right, you're forced to put down your phone. You're forced to watch it in the dark room. But of course, the baby's in the back, the old man's in the back sucking on his Werther's original, and this guy's checking his phone up here. Like, there's enough things to take you out. So imagine, like, that ratcheted up just a notch, and then I start getting excited about it on the, like, I'm totally already in on the games, excited about the games, can't wait to see what people do when they create with the games. But to take it the other level, like, I'm excited then, if it's possible, to watch Walking Dead that way, to put down my phone and just be there. You know what I mean? Watch movies, just be there.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's totally, he's talking, Throw7's asking about what happens 100 years in the future.
I mean, I think
cyber warfare, and we're dead.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Well, yeah, 100 years in the future, we've hit the singularity. Yeah. We are one with machines.
The games.
Games will just be real life.
Yeah,
that's what it will be. But see, I don't know that I buy that implementation can work necessarily. Because think about if something were always right here, how disorienting that would be. To everywhere you look, it's the same image. That's got to be weird. So the power of VR is that everywhere you're looking, the actual world's changing.
Sure.
So what you're saying is just, it's like, if you want that right now, just go get that Samsung VR and put the phone in the thing. You know what I mean? And just play a movie in front of you. But imagine looking at the same movie no matter where you go. That's got to be really disorienting.
I mean, here's the fact and figure about all of it. Like, wake up, everybody, that PlayStation VR, Oculus, all that is going to be completely disorienting. Playing rigs, I got in it and was immediately like, whoa.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's disorienting enough when you're looking around an actual fully realized rendered 3D world.
Sure.
But how disorienting will it be if the picture is just locked no matter where you're?
I understand your point. No, I totally get your point. I'm just saying that this is something, these are the hurdles we're going to have to overcome on everything. Like, when I sat down to play rigs, like, for real, and at first it was the thing of, like, we were coming out of the ground and I'm in the mech or whatever, and the elevator stopped. And you know, my body was like, well, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna feel that, and it didn't. So then it was like, boom, and I was like, immediately like, whoa, that's a new one. But more to the point is, you're playing rigs and you're running around, you're still, you know, dual stick controlling, moving, turning the way, but you're aiming with your head. So all of a sudden it was like, oh man, the guy's going that way, and I would go like that, but then I wasn't moving the stick, so then I'm like trying to move the body. Like, I was learning to play again all
now
over.
you effectively have a third analog stick.
Right, there's a third way to control now.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's
what
really
do you have to say, Kev?
What you're talking about were just a screen already exists.
I know.
Sony makes them.
I know.
They've made them for years.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just little glasses.
Like the home theater things.
Yeah, it's a home
What's that store? Brookstone? Is it Brookstone?
Yeah, Brookstone.
Yeah, they have all that stuff.
But this is the thing where it's finally affordable and it's going to be in your house already. That's why, I mean, this is what we're talking about a wall falling down. Yeah.
I mean, I think they have to have that stuff. For me, with the gimmicks and all that stuff, I go back to, like, the 90s and the arcades, and it's like, those are the games that cost $1. Those are the games that weren't just 25 cents. And it's like, oh, you can punch things, or you can ride on the skateboard, or you can play a guitar, or DDR, or silent scope, or all these things. And those are the games that you're like, oh my God, like, I get to move things.
Sure.
This is crazy. And it's like, then all of a sudden it became a gimmick. over time, you know? And it's like, that went from like, holy shit, this is so cool. I wish we could do that at home one day, to Guitar Hero and Rock Band happened, and Time Crisis stayed out its welcome. And like all of these things happened, and we're like, all right. And then the Wii and PS Move and all this shit. And we're like, I'm done. I'm fucking done. And all of us revolted. And we're like, we want these hardcore experiences and blah, blah, blah. And those things can't exist and all this shit. Then Nintendo comes out with the 3DS, and PlayStation tried its whole 3D thing for a while.
Sony overall,
exactly. And with PlayStation, with the games, none of them were really made to be 3D games. It's like, here's Uncharted, and here's like
a little depth of field. Yeah.
And that is totally disorienting. Like that is like, it's the difference between like taking a movie and making it 3D versus it being shot in 3D or whatever. And even that's different, because that has real thought being put into it.
That's
And like that's a frame by frame, shot by shot. Whereas video games are like fucking, there's so much shit that they have to like to do that's like, that's impossible. So then you just get a bunch of shoe-in things like Sonic Generations, or like a bunch of 2D platformers did it, where it was like disorienting to play because you couldn't focus on what you're trying to look at. There was just too much depth and too many layers. And then then the 3DS happens, and 3DS was like, all right, we're going to take a different approach, and we're going to actually try to make gameplay based around this 3D experience and stuff. And the 3D is part of it. And that was supposed to be the thing, in the way that like the DS, the dual screens, games are going to be made differently. And DS games were made differently to fit the two screens. 3DS games weren't, you know, and that's the problem. Is it's like, it was like this promise that never actually happened. We saw a couple cases of it. Like,
well, you also had they weren't fully committed to it, right? Because you had a slider where everything. I guess that was to play 2D games that weren't.
I turned my slider off.
But the slider thing was it was mainly just because like the 3D like fucked with people and stuff like that, because it does, and it causes motion sickness and all that. But what I'm saying is, it's like out of the gate with the DS, like maybe not at launch, but like very soon after launch, there was games that are like, oh, this is why. And it wasn't until Mario 3D Land that it was like, oh, this is why. But then since then, there hasn't really been anything that I'm like,
sure,
this is, the 3D is part of the gameplay. And like playing Mario 3D Land with and without the 3D is a very different experience. Like it is tailored, and it's like Nintendo fucking did it. They nailed it. They made the 3D not a gimmick with that game, and they made it part of the gameplay. But then they failed to do it after that. And that's where I think the VR comes into play, where it's like, I'm sold on the VR. I think it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I was sold on the 3D. I think it's fucking cool.
Yeah.
But the VR, it's like, are we gonna see those games? Are they really gonna happen? How many are we gonna get? And how much of it is just gonna be like, even what you're talking about of just like being able to watch and do all that stuff? It's like, that's cool, but it is just a different way to do the same thing. And I worry that like it's not gonna be good. And I keep talking about how like the screens aren't that high quality. I would much rather watch, like, you're talking about the distraction stuff. I'm way more distracted when the screen doesn't look good, you know? And it's like, I'm not even talking about blurry and stuff. I'm talking about just the quality of the screen, you know? So
I guess it's opposite.
And then when you're talking about like it wrapping around and stuff, things need to be made for that. So it's like when you're talking about the, like maybe Horizon will have that extra bit or whatever, that goes back to the Uncharted just getting 3D, where it's like, you can't just make more screen happen, you know? It would have to be designed that way. And you see it now, like I have an ultra wide PC monitor, and I fucking love that thing for productivity and like editing and stuff like that. And when you see a video game that is in that resolution, it's fucking incredible. You see a first person shooter and like how much of the map you can see at once. It's like, damn, or a racing game.
Sure.
It's like
incredible. Yeah, you see those rigs where people have like the wide monitor and then the monitors on the side.
Yep.
And they have the graphics cards that will actually like quad graphics cards that'll support all that. It's really cool.
It's really, really cool, and it's really immersive. And imagining that on your face is just insane. But the problem with it is the HUD's all weird, and it's like in the middle of the screen, and it's like it's distracting. It becomes distracting, and that's kind of the thing.
I'm with you. No, like you're nailing it. I think on the main part of like, these things have to be built from the ground up this way. My big fucking concern with PlayStation VR in particular, because I just don't understand how Oculus is going to work into the developers and people we know, and how our know lives work other than the indies and stuff, is the fact that they launched PlayStation VR and it is fucking shitty ass mini games like it was with the Move. It doesn't sell. The VR doesn't sell. Developers are like, well, I'm not going to make anything for it, and then it falls off a cliff.
And I mean, I'm going to be shocked if that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like that's the trajectory. And it's like, having said that, when you do it for the first time, it's amazing. It is an experience where you're like, whoa, this is fucking cool. And like, even when we did that random VR. I don't remember even what it was, but like we got to be on the moon and like at E3.
Oh yeah, that was Brandon's thing.
Yeah, and it's like it changed how we like. You're talking about the elevator. It's like we are on the moon, so we start moving slower just because it feels right. It is immersive, and it instantly like you forget you're in a room. Like VR is something really special.
Yeah.
But how special was it when you played tennis for the first time on the Wii?
Right.
You know,
Great point.
It's the same thing, and we saw where that went, and now VR I think has a different peak that it potentially could hit.
Yeah.
But then again, so does motion controls. How many people played fucking Wii Sports, and were like, oh my God, imagine when they make the Star Wars game where you get to have lightsabers.
Yeah.
Or imagine when the Zelda happens. And then those things did happen, or the lightsaber didn't happen.
Right.
And it's like, why? You know?
Sure.
And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, until that happens.
There's so many pitfalls.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't see us getting past those. Like, and I wish we did. I love it. I think that the VR, every time I've used it, I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. Also, though, every time I've used it, there's been like multiple demos or multiple things I've seen, and one of them or two of them are like, whoa, this is cool. And the others are, all right, this is the equivalent to a shitty mobile game. Like, I am done with this. And I mean, mobile games are another gimmick people talk about and stuff, and like with the touchscreen and all that stuff. I love good mobile games. I hate the shitty ones. And it's like it's the ones that really are like, all right, I'm going to design this game around this thing that's in this guy's pocket always. There's a touchscreen.
Right.
Make the game for that. Don't give me analog controls and having to pretend I'm hitting buttons and stuff. Like, that's why I love Peggle so much. It's literally a slingshot thing. Touchscreens make sense for that.
Yeah.
I think I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say, but I think that really drives the point home, right? It's not the first game they make, it's not the second game they make. What's the 10th game they make that's gonna be amazing on VR? That's what's gonna sell it. Right?
Yeah. But the problem with that is everyone has a phone in their pocket. Like, that's sold. The VR needs to have something to sell it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But they're not going to get to game 10, and that's my thing about the lightsabers.
That's the problem, right? Yeah. That was the problem with that. That was my issue with the Wii, was I was like, this is really cool. I can't wait until they iterate on this and perfect this, and they never did.
And see, that's the wild card. And what I always talk about with this, in terms of PlayStation, right, is the fact that when PlayStation Move came out, when 3D came out, it was all gimmicks, and they'd say it wasn't gimmicks, but that's as far as they'd go. Whereas when you talk to Shu about this, or you talk to somebody who's involved with this, they're talking about, I mean, Shu literally said on PS I Love You, right, of like, we're looking at the launch of PlayStation VR as launching the original PlayStation. We in 20 years, we want to be here talking to you about that. And granted, you if you want to be negative, you can chalk that up as marketing speak, this, that, and the other. For me, to me, like, Shu doesn't speak like that. You know what I mean? So for me, that makes me go, huh? What are they that committed to it? And then like, sure, we're right now we're wave one, early adopters, ground zero people, and sure, there's gonna be tons of fucking hurdles and da. If they're committed to it 20 years from now, it's amazing, all these different things. Or if they're Microsoft, they iterate on it once, connect, and then they're like, okay, everybody hates it, we're sorry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I'm with you on that, just in the sense that I want it to work. I want to be proven wrong here, and I wanted to make it past those hurdles, because I wanted 3D to work. I wanted motion controls to work. And I think all of these things need to work together in order for it to work. And that's the funny thing about VR, is that it needs motion controls. It needs 3D. Like, right now, it has so much up against it to succeed. Having said that, it also has the lessons learned from 3D and from motion to kind of put into it. There's so many questions we keep talking about. Like, you every time I've seen the PlayStation VR, like, it has PlayStation Move attached, and it's like, so what, are they gonna sell PlayStation Move with it? Like, there's so many questions we still have with.
No, I know, and that's what's weird about it, is like, I think if you were to go through all our podcasts from the beginning of year on, and the old Beyonds and whatnot, like, I'm from really negative to it to now positive on the tech, you know, and I think for the first time ever, I'm starting to think it has a shot, not to be in a million houses and all this stuff and be this juggernaut piece of hardware, but to be something that is supported. Because that my line of reason has been from the get-go that it's going to come out, have no support, and then fall away. But now you're playing these experiences where it's like, well, fuck, if they launch with E-Valkyrie, or even in the launch window, quote unquote, E-Valkyrie and No Man's Sky is compatible, and then Gran Turismo comes out with something, and then there's, you know what I mean? Like, you start racking up these games, you're like, huh, fuck, there's a few things I want to play, and then you start offsetting them with, now the new Assassin's Creed, it has a wrap. And again, I'm not saying like, your widescreen monitor thing's totally something I hadn't thought of, and you're right, but I'm not. For me, it's like the when you watch sports, stick with me. When you watch anything, I guess, local news, on widescreen, right? But all of the stuff is on the middle,
Yeah.
so it's still set for 4x3,
yeah.
but then there's extra space if you have the widescreen.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it does that. Like,
Yeah.
that's how the games are now. Just what I'm saying is it's really disorienting and kind of weird because that's not how we're used to
Sure.
seeing games, and it blocks things in ways that you're like, ooh, I don't want that to be right there.
Gotcha.
Like, it's not like watching the news or stuff where that's title safe or whatever they're calling,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
where it's like that stuff's designed and everything is shot to
Be ready
think
for
about
that.
that stuff. Whereas with video games, it's like, you know, you're when you move things, you need to be able to see where the enemies are and stuff. And again, problems can be solved, but the bigger issue, I think, is the graphics card thing of to be able to make the resolution instead of it being, I mean, all of a sudden that's not 1080 anymore. So they're either going to make it to down it and just make it a different aspect ratio
Yeah.
and like stretch it, or no, not stretch it, but just make it bigger.
Tug it.
Or they're going to need.
You're talking about if the glass actually curves around you.
Yeah, if it curves around you like that.
Because right now it's 16:9 and it's just just rendering a 16:9.
Yeah, so that won't be 16:9. It'll be something else, and it'll either have to be dumbed down significantly to be able to run, or I mean, I don't like it doesn't have any processing power in itself, right? Like
It's got an
It's got a
external
little
box.
oh, okay, then maybe it does have like a graphics card. that
Oh no,
can-
it has a dedicated
yeah.
graphics card. Yes.
Then okay, maybe if it's good enough, it could potentially run things on high and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And
See,
that would be a game changer.
I think it would be cool. Say I always default to when I think VR, I think first person shooters.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have to take a step back and you're like, that is obviously what it's one of the prime intentions for. But then you think a third person shooter or a third person game like an Assassin's Creed or a Batman, right? Where you're literally sitting there and you can look anywhere in the environment, but your character stays where he's at. That's fucking cool. That sounds like a cool experience. But we all know, I mean, you've said it yourself a million times, like what sells systems? What sells tech? Games.
Yeah.
Right? The experiences sell.
Yeah.
So it's all just theoretical.
Yep.
And it's a
100%.
gimmick until that first title comes out. And that's the one that's going to make everyone think, I'll invest in this. But I stand by it. They have to have a year straight of great titles. They have to have multiple titles that come out that really are going to get the sort of fair weather fans like me on board to say, okay, I'm going to put this in my living room.
And that's their test, and that's what they're up against, right? Of like the fact that the PlayStation hardcore audience, you know what I mean, these people who go to PSX and stuff, they're going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
But then it becomes that Wii then they move to Wii marketing mode where Colin and I are gonna have two of these motherfuckers in the house, right? Hopefully we have them early. But we have them in the house, and let's say we're people, and you came over, and we put it on and gave you this experience, right? Like that's when it starts to spread a little bit. But you're right that it's like cool. I love that one game. Let me know when there's 4 more.
I mean, it needs to be Wii and not Wii U. And I think that's the thing is like, the Wii U is that. It's like it's a tablet and a controller. That's not going to sell anybody.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the future of gaming.
There
We
you
want
go.
to pass VR, but I think the VR is
The problem is
the hurdle one.
Beyond that, can you ever think about what would be? I mean, remember when you're playing SNES or Genesis, and you're like, it'll never look better than this.
Yeah. So it's like for now to even think farther than that, it's hard because I don't know. It gets dangerous.
From just a graphic standpoint, photorealistic is going to happen, and it will happen soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're already really
if you
close.
look at games in this generation as opposed to like even last generation, they blow them away.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.